Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Andrew Brews. Today I get to visit a commander that Millsy has already talked about, one that we were both very excited to do. So we both just decided, let's both attack this one. Let's see what we can both come up with and see what kind of good things we can do. Yeah, so as we know, we're going through the Lord of the Rings cards and some of the commanders and the precons in this case that stood out to us. Millsy has been showing off his value train of deck building and the way that he assembles the decks to be the most efficient, most value generation as possible. Today I'm continuing my theme of making them very lore friendly, lore accurate. So you'll see most of the cards I use today are going to be from the Lord of the Rings set, whether it's from the precons or from the main set, or the Realms and Relics box toppers. Whatever the case may be. I'm trying to keep it lore accurate, just mostly out of my intense love for all things Lord of the Rings. There are a few that aren't, and you may even be able to see some now, but we'll get into those. Today we're talking about Eowyn Shieldmaiden. She is a human knight. The goal here is a human tribal. So we want to get out a bunch of humans. We want to profit off of them being on the battlefield, make a whole bunch of them. With my deck, I made mine with a bit more of a knight subtype. And gave it some more knight support because I'm wanting to really crank out a lot of knights. This deck also makes a lot of soldiers, but I love the knight subtype. So we're just hitting on all the things that Andrew likes today. So Eowyn Shieldmaiden is a Jeskai commander, costing 2 generic, 1 blue, 1 red, 1 white. Legendary creature, human knight, 5/4 with first strike. Saying, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if another human entered the battlefield under your control this turn, create 2/2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. Then if you control 6 or more humans, draw a card. When I first saw that, I was honestly a little underwhelmed, and I don't know why. I actually did get to play with this deck a few days ago. I got to go take it over to a friend's house and play with a pod over there. And boy, was this some value. I generated a bunch of knights. I had a bunch of soldier tokens. I think at one point I had like 51 creatures total on the board, partly due from Eowyn's ability. I had some good card draw. Yeah, I don't know why I initially thought that this card wasn't all that special. I guess I just saw Aragorn here and I was like, that's who I want. I want my man Aragorn. But yeah, so we can start getting into it now, knowing what the commander does and kind of what the deck is about. We'll start off with the lands. I've got my normal count of 36 because we are running the mana curve a little, I don't know, not on the high side, but higher than maybe what my average is. So I want to keep it at my average or maybe a little higher. You can see we've got several of the new lands that came from this set with Dol Amroth, where we get to pay a blue and untap a target legendary permanent. This is going to be good for we've got red and white in here, so we're going to be doing lots of attacking, lots of tapping. If it's on our field, unless someone poses a pretty good threat, we want to be tapping and attacking. So this can help us maybe give some pseudo vigilance. Minas Tirith is going to be a powerhouse of a land that is going to do a lot of work in a lot of decks. Here, its flavor and its value. We're going to be attacking with a lot of creatures as much as possible. For just 2 mana, we get to tap it and draw a card if we didn't use it to give us mana for any other spells. We've got Helm's Deep, which is a reprint or a rebranding of, I believe, Shinko, the Blood-Soaked Keep. Yeah, it's kind of similar in essence to Dol Amroth, where we just pay 1 of its color mana, and then we get an effect. This one says target legendary creature gains first strike until end of turn. Why not? Our commander already has first strike, but there's a lot of stuff in our deck that does not. So why not? If we don't tap this for some red mana, if we don't need it, then hey, let's get some extra effects going. I actually, I was really happy with it. This was the very last card that I pulled, and all of the cards that I got to open from the sealed product that I ordered. I actually pulled this Cavern of Souls reskin called Pass of the Dead. Um, this is a card that definitely cares about tribal synergies. Um, keeping your stuff from being countered is a very good thing to have, especially if once people realize what a threat our commander can be, or some of the other cards, and some of the combos that I'll show you guys later. We definitely want to make sure they hit the ground and can start doing their stuff. Path of Ancestries plays into tribal synergies as well. Great Hall of the Citadel is a new land. With sort of a mana filtering, since we got 3 colors, mana filtering is not a terrible idea, and we can use it to cast our legendary spells. If we don't have any legendary spells to cast, it still provides us with colorless mana. Plaza of Heroes, again, we've got lots of legendary support here, so this is a slam dunk with all that. It can protect Eowyn, give us lots of different access to all 3 colors of mana that are present in our deck. It's good stuff all around. Secluded Courtyard is again more tribal synergies. We are going in deep for those human synergistic. We want to play into that as much as possible. And then everything, a lot of dual lands. We got the Pain lands. With things like Adakar Wastes and Battlefield Forge. Exotic Orchard will likely give us access to all 3 colors. Port Town, we got the Triome in here. Sunhome is a fun one to give some double strike. So lots of. I feel like this is a pretty good land base to get lots of different colors. And the basic lands kind of play out about the spread of colors that we have present in the rest of the deck. With blue, not having the most, red being there in the middle, and white being very, very present in a lot of the cards. Moving on up to the enchantments. Again, we see a lot of the new ones. This needs to be the cool new art. Yeah, there we go. Anytime we can showcase the Riders of Rohan, we want to do that. Yeah, Shared Animosity. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record by the end of this video. We want tribal synergies. Get massive attack boosts, especially if you've gone wide with these tokens. Man, you are just because those knights that we create with Eowyn, those have trample. So man, then they're just creature tokens. So we can swing them out with haste on the first turn they come out. If you've even got just a few other humans, that suddenly turns into a 5/2 or a 6/2 or a 7/2 with trample. Your opponents are gonna have a hard time dealing with those. Rising of the Day, give everything haste. Let's do it. I love it. Outlaws Merriment is one that is not from the Lord of the Rings set, but it's a free human every time. And during our upkeep, we get one of those 3 different human creature tokens at random. All 3 have haste. They have different effects apart from that and different stats apart from that. But it's during our upkeep, so if Eowyn's out, congratulations, you just got your human entering the battlefield trigger for free. So there you go. And it's more bodies out there. Oath of Eoral, over the course of this, we will get 4 creature tokens, and then 1 human gets indestructible and introduces the monarchy. I've had a bit of a hard time getting behind sagas, as I think they can be a little slow, but I think this one has a lot of value. You get 4 tokens for 5 mana by the end of it, and something gains indestructible, and introduces the monarchy. I'm certainly okay with that, and also I'm a big fan of anything that has to do with the Riders of Rohan and the history that they have. So the Oath of Eoral is a great card. Kindred Discovery, again, choosing a creature type. We can say humans. We could also go knights as well, but that's not going to be nearly as effective. So humans is the way to go. We have to draw a card every time a human enters the battlefield. Or attacks. That's right. Anytime it enters the battlefield or attacks, we get to draw a card. Crazy card draw. This is a great tribal enchantment for anything that has blue. Folk Hero is the same. It's the same way where we get to draw a card. It is a little bit of a downside. It puts it on our commander. like all the backgrounds do. It's basically an added effect that your commanders get while your commander and folk hero are out on the battlefield together. The thing I don't like about this as opposed to Kindred Discovery is that this draw effect only happens once per turn. You can't have it go off more than once. But it is 2 mana, so it is nice and cheap. Flowering of the White Tree is one that a lot of people seem to like. Legendary creatures get +2/+1 and have ward 1, and then non-legendary creatures get +1/+1. So this is just a straight buff across all your creatures and potentially giving your commander and any other legendaries that we have on the field an additional little something to make them even better, even more threatening. All right, we've got our artifacts. We've got several different mana rocks between the usual things like Arcane Signet and Soul Ring. I decided to, I couldn't not put the artwork for the Ring of Power for men. I don't have this one. I have the regular precon Soul Ring, but I couldn't not put this as the art. And then, we have a couple of the talismans as well, getting some representation, Mind Stone as well. But then I added in Relic of Legends as well because we care about several different legendaries in this deck. And even then, at the end of the day, this is still a add 1 mana of any color mana rock. It's a little bit more expensive than Arcane Signet, but we're okay with that. Put in the One Ring because I find it hard not to with any of these Lord of the Rings decks. It's not quite as flavorful here, but card draw is card draw, and we're all here for the One Ring. They're all here about the fate of the One Ring. We have lots of more synergies with tribal support between Door of Destinies, which came included in the precon, which is incredible. That's a great reprint. Icon of Ancestry and Vanquisher's Banner. Both Vanquisher's Banner and Door of Destinies have to do with pumping up your creatures. And then Vanquisher's Banner, the Door of Destinies is kind of incremental power increase. Vanquisher's Banner is just a little bit of a power increase and then more card draw. Icon of Ancestry is not included in the set. This is one of the outside cards that I have. Again, just a flat +1/+1 of the creature type that you choose. Then you can pay 3 mana, tap it, look at the top 3 cards of your library, you reveal a creature card of the chosen type among them, and put it in your hand. Put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library. If we find that we're missing some creatures in our hand and we definitely want to put some more down, this is great. Herald's Horn, again, makes our humans cheaper to cast by 1, and then it allows us to look at the top of our deck and if it's that creature type, human, we get to add it to our hand, which is awesome. Okay, now these 2 cards are new to the set. I'll start with Horn of the Mark first. This is similar to Icon of Ancestry and more similar to Icon of Ancestry than Herald's Horn, but it's got a little bit of that same flavor to it. If you attack with 2 or more creatures, and specifically attack a player, look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal a creature card from among them, and put it in your hand. It doesn't have to be human. I think everything we have in here is human, but again, if we want some creatures, if we realize our hand is missing some creatures, this is a good way to go get them. Horn of Gondor. Okay, so when I played my game a few days ago, this was the powerhouse card that I had. This put in work time after time after time, like for 3 or 4 turns in a row. No one had any artifact removal, or if they did, they just decided not to play it. And I just got pure value off of this Horn of Gondor. When it enters, you create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token, and then for 3 mana, you can tap it and create X 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens, where X is the number of humans you control. So the longer you have this out, the more humans you get, and the more humans you get, and the more humans you get. And you're just going to go crazy. Put this, down with Shared Animosity. Oh man, you're looking at a very strong board. Like I think because of this and a few other non-token creatures I had out, I had like 51 creatures out at one time, and it felt really good. So that's it for the artifacts. Let's see. We're not running too many of the spells. Mostly just some interaction here with the instance and a few pretty fun sorceries. With the instance, if I've got blue, I need a little bit of... For the way that some people in my pod play, I'm not going to name any Millsy names, but some people in my pod play some very powerful stuff and things that I don't necessarily want to hit the table. So I'm running a little bit of counter magic here, and then some return card to the hand or the deck. Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, staple white removal. They're in so many white decks. They're just very great, very efficient ways to get rid of that thing that is going to overpower you or that's stopping you from doing the things that you want to do. And then Unbreakable Formation is a way to give all of our creatures indestructible until the end of turn. And then a little extra effect if you do it during the main phase, you get +1/+1 counters on each of those creatures, and they get Vigilance. For the sorceries, got a board wipe with Supreme Verdict. One of my favorite board wipes. I love the new art that they got for this one, because this came in the precon as well. This spell can't be countered. Destroy all creatures. Yeah, just wipe the board. Nothing anyone can do about it. Yeah, this is in case things are just not looking in your favor and you need to reset. Rally at the Hornburg. This is a very efficient and very fun way to give your creatures haste. You get 2/2 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So for 2 mana, you get 2 bodies, 2 1/1 bodies. That's good fair magic. Those are things that we like to see. But then on top of that, just all of your humans gain haste at no extra cost from that already efficient mana spending. This is a good card. Millsy and I both talked about this a lot and how much we appreciate Rally at the Hornburg. 4th Aerlingus. This just makes me want to shout death and charge along with them. So this is a great sorcery, very similar to the Neon Dynasty Kamigawa set of the Iganjo Uprising. But I think it's better because you're not giving your opponents anything. This just says create X 2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. So the same kind of knights we're making with Eowyn. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to one or more players this turn, you become the monarch. Introduce a little monarchy. Pump a lot of mana into this and profit with that haste, that trample. Send a lot of knight tokens at your opponents. And then Call for Aid. This is just a fun... I like that this is in the precon. This is a little bit of maybe politicking, or you don't even have to. You can just see one of your opponents has, quite the spread of creatures, and you're like, you know what, I want that. I want to end the game. Grab all of them. They all gain haste. They're all untapped. You just can't attack the player that you get them from, and you can't sacrifice them. So this is a way, if you've got 1 or 2 other people still left at the board, take 1 or both of them out, swing out and cause some real damage, and then they get them back. This is something you would need to be careful for, though, because then it comes around to their turn, and you might be all tapped out, and they still have all of their creatures. So there's a caveat that goes along with this, but it is a very impactful card for sure. All right, and now we get to the fun part of the humans themselves, all the creatures that we have. This is a very creature-centric deck, and I filled it up with a good amount of creatures. So first up, we have the alternate commander that comes in the precon, Aragorn, King of Gondor. We got some Vigilance and Lifelink on a 4/4 body. That's pretty good. When he enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. And then whenever Aragorn attacks, up to 1 target creature can't block this turn. If you're the monarch, no creatures at all can block this turn. So this could be very devastating. Very good, especially partnered with something like 4th Aerlingus or the Horn of Gondor. This is a good way to get some damage out if you are the monarch for sure. Bastion Protector is a reprint that is really good. Commander creatures you control +2/+2 and indestructible. Love the new art of this Soldier of Gondor coming to the aid of somebody else. Baragon of the Guard. Again, this is another card that Millsy and I have shared a lot of love and adoration for. Whenever it comes onto the battlefield, or another human comes onto the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain Vigilance until end of turn. So the Vigilance doesn't stack, but if you're putting multiple humans out, that +1/+1 will continue to stack and pump up your stuff. So again, partner that with Horn of Gondor, partner that with Fourth Aerlingus, or several of these other creature cards that generate us creature tokens. With Eowyn, with Faramir. This is a great way to get, just straight across the board, +1/+1, multiple +1/+1s. And plus, Baragon is a great add. I love that he was included because he didn't make the cut into the movies, which I understand. But he's quite the heroic character that Pippin gets to meet and interact with and grow close to. Baragon and his son, too. So I'm glad that Wizards gave him some representation in cardboard form. We've got both Boromirs here, both Gondor's Hope and Warden of the Tower. Warden of the Towers is a fun one where you get to automatically counter any spells that had no mana spent to cast them. And then you can sacrifice him at instant speed, and all creatures gain indestructible until end of turn, and then the ring tempts you. The ring tempts you, that's not a mechanic that's really present in this deck, apart from just, I think this one and maybe a couple others. So I won't go into that, but it's a whole thing. If you want to learn more about that, I talk about that in my Food and Fellowship video. So you guys can go watch that if you want to learn more about that, as that deck focuses a lot on making sure the ring tempts you as much as possible, as quick as possible. And then Boromir Gondor's Hope is almost exactly the same as Horn of the Mark, where we get to look at our top 6 cards of our library, reveal a human or artifact from among them, and put it in your hand, and then the rest go on the bottom. So again, we're digging for some things that we want. I like that it includes artifact because Boromir is the one who I guess wields the Horn of Gondor. That's him in the picture, or at least it should be, as that is an artifact and an heirloom that he has. So I like that you can search for artifacts too, as that is a very important piece of equipment to him and his character. Champions of Minas Tirith. Wow, this was a very fun card to see when I first saw it on the deck reveal. Instant, enter the battlefield, you become the monarch. Great. I love monarchy. I love card draw. I like the politics that go along with it's obviously not true goad, but it's a way to sort of influence where attacks go. So I love playing with monarchy whenever that gets introduced into a game. At the beginning of combat on each opponent's turn, if you're the monarch, that opponent may pay X, where X is the number of cards in their hand. If they don't, they cannot attack you this combat. So if they want to attack you while you're the monarch, they got to pay for it. So this is similar in line to like a Ghostly Prison or a Propaganda, where, listen, if you want to come at me, you got to lose some resources to do so. And then there's several other ways, both in the precon that I didn't keep in this deck, and also ways from the precon that I did keep in this deck that can introduce the monarchy back to you again if you do lose it. Combat Celebrant is a crazy card that gives you extra combats. I love that this was put in here. This is a great card. Who doesn't want to, and especially in such a creature-heavy aggro deck as this, who doesn't want to, take another turn at fighting? So between this and the Aomer Marshal of Rohan, I've got a couple ways to get extra combats. So you can exert Combat Celebrant, and then everything untaps, and then after that second main phase, you do an additional combat phase. Fun stuff. Dauntless Bodyguard, I needed some knights to kind of fill in some of the creatures, and this is a great way to... it's similar to Boromir, where you can sacrifice it at instant speed and protect one of the key pieces of your board, one of the key creatures that are currently on your board. You do have to pick that creature when it enters the battlefield. You can't just say, oh, well, I changed my mind, I want to protect this one. But it's a 1-drop. Very easy to protect something, and it's a knight, so it'll play in with some of the other synergies we have with the creatures that we have, with things like a Knight Exemplar, which give other knights +1/+1 and indestructible. Valiant Knight gives other knights +1/+1. Inspiring Veteran, other knights get +1/+1, and then Herald of Hoofbeats is the last one that I put in as sort of knight support, where it itself has horsemanship, and then other knights you control have horsemanship. This was the big card from the Cavalry's Charge precon from March of the Machine that just recently came out. What a way to reintroduce horsemanship. We got the Riders of Rohan precon. How is there not going to... How can I keep horsemanship from this deck? They're masters of riding horses. They are known as the Horse Lords. I got to put horsemanship in here. There's no way I can't. So yeah, this helps out with the myriad of knights that we have, both as creature cards here, and then the knight creature tokens that we're making with Eowyn, and some other ways. So those are some fun knight supports that I threw in there. Erkenbrand is another one similar to Baragon that I'm just so glad got some exposure in cardboard form, because he was another one who got left out of the movie. He is one of the heroes of Rohan, one of the lords of Rohan who gathered together and helped save the day at Helm's Deep, in the Battle of Helm's Deep. So when he or another human enters the battlefield under your control, creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. Another way to buff our humans. We got plenty of ways to do that. What's wrong with one more? Aaron, Rider of Gondor. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Then if you don't control a legendary creature, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. So we run quite a few legendaries in here. And especially in a game of Commander where you always have access to play a legendary creature, I'm not bothered by that last bit. So it's a 3/2 human body that gets me card draw. We've got a couple instances of Faramir, Prince of Athelion, and Steward of Gondor. Prince of Athelion says, at the beginning of your end step, choose an opponent. At the beginning of that player's next end step, you draw a card if they didn't attack you. Otherwise, create 3/1/1 white human soldier creature tokens. So this card is a win-win either way. I pick somebody. If they don't attack me, cool, I get a card. If they do, cool, I get bodies. The only downside being, if they attack me with a lot, and then, I'm in trouble. But either way, you're profiting at their end step every time, so you get something good. This is kind of similar, again, at sort of the end step. If you're the Monarch, you get some more soldier creature tokens. And then this is an interesting way to kind of take the monarchy away from people apart from fighting them. Whenever a legendary creature with mana value 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you become the monarch. Our commander has a mana value of 4 or greater. There's several others here. We've got Aragorn, we've got Baragon, Boromir, Erkenbrand. A lot of our legendary creatures are 4 or more. So it shouldn't be too impossible to potentially just take the monarchy back from somebody. Eoreth of the Healing House. I thought this was a great include. We want to keep up some bodies because we are going to be attacking. We don't have a whole lot of creatures with Vigilance or ways to get Vigilance in this deck. I could have done that with cards like Always Watching or what is it? Secure the Wastes is the creates creature tokens. There are ways to give all your creatures Vigilance, and it's just sort of a static Anthem effect, but this is a way to sort of manipulate, tap and untap. We can either tap her and untap 2 other target legendary creatures, or, maybe we want to use our Horn of Gondor again. So we can tap Eoreth and pay another 3 mana and tap the Horn of Gondor for a second time. There's lots of ways. This is a very flexible card, lots of ways to use it. Knights of Dol Amroth. Love to see some Dol Amroth inclusion with the Knights here and Prince Imrahil. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Knights of Dol Amroth. Well, we're going to be drawing cards in a lot of different ways that we've already shown. Eowyn's one of them. Kindred Discovery is another. So there's lots of ways that we're drawing cards. So every time we draw our second card, pump up these Knights. Lossarnark Captain. Between this and the Horn of Gondor with the game that I played recently, this almost got me the game. I potentially could have pulled out the win had I not made some deals that ended up coming back to bite me in the butt. But yeah, this says whenever Lost Ark captain or another human enters the battlefield under your control, tap target creature an opponent controls. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So yeah, at this point in the game, I tapped Horn of Gondor. I was creating, I think, 32 1/1 soldier tokens. So I got to tap down everybody else's creatures and then some. And I got to swing out at the 2 people that I did not make deals with. And this is potentially a very devastating effect if you can crank out creature tokens. Mentor of the Meek, we have a lot of 1/1s and 2/2s entering the battlefield, so this is a way for us to get some draw payoff with that by paying 1 every time that happens. Prince Imrahil the Fair, again, focusing on that second draw ability, archetype, I guess. Create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So whenever we get to draw off of Eowyn's ability, instead of just getting the 2/2 knights, we get the knights and an extra 1/1 human. So again, just more bodies, more ways to pump up with shared animosity with Horn of Gondor. Protector of Gondor, this gives us 2 bodies in 1 card, so whenever this enters the battlefield, we create a 1/1 white human. And again, the mana sort of, the vanilla test works out where we have a total power toughness of 4 coming out, and it's 4 mana, so this seems good to me. Riders of Rohan is fun. I love that we brought back dash for at least 1 card for Riders of Rohan. It says when it enters the battlefield, create 2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. My tongue's gonna get tied up saying that at some point. So more ways to get those knights, and then dash simply means that you can pay it for the dash cost, and then you return it to your hand. I think at the end step, so you can keep getting that effect over and over again if you pay that 1 extra mana for the dash cost as opposed to its regular casting cost, so you get some more value out of it. Rohirrim Lancer, I honestly just wanted a cheap knight to fit in, similar to Dauntless Bodyguard. Dauntless Bodyguard has a little bit more utility than this does. This is one of the 2 or 3 cards that deal with the ring tempting you. But again, that's not a super big deal for what we're trying to accomplish here. I just wanted a cheap knight that fit in with the theme, and this got me that. With all the pump-up effects that we're doing, this can potentially turn into a very efficient knight with menace, with all the +1/+1 or +1/+0 effects that we have going on. I love Selfless Squire. This is a great card. I got introduced to this when they did the Strixhaven precons. This one was in the Brina the Demagogue precon, and I've used this to great effect. I've used this to prevent as much as 30-40 damage at some points, and then for 4 mana, you've got this giant, crazy body out on the field. That's suddenly a massive threat. So this is a great way to prevent some damage, and then buff up this creature in return. Theoden, King of Rohan. What a man, Theoden. He's another legendary creature that we care about. Whenever he enters the battlefield or another human enters the battlefield, target creature gains double strike. Man, put this on everything. Again, I keep throwing it back to Horn of Gondor. That's such a powerful card, such a powerful mechanic that we can utilize. Get a bunch of creatures double strike each and every time something comes and hits the field. Talked about Valiant Knight already. Weathered Wayfarer. This is some land searching because we don't have too much of that at all, I think. I think this might be one of the only cards that allows us to go search our library for lands, just because we're doubling down on the tribal aspect and we've got so much card draw that hopefully we'll hit some good lands. But in case we're not and we're falling behind, this is a good way to get us caught back up. Westfold Rider. I wish that last sentence wasn't in there, but this is still not a half bad card. It's a 3/1 human knight. We can sacrifice it and destroy target artifact or enchantment, but we can only activate it as a sorcery. If we could activate that at instant speed, this card would be so much better. But this is still, I think, a pretty good card with the human and the knight synergies that we have going on. I think this is a good include. And then the last few cards we have are Aomer, and then another iteration of Eowyn. Aomer, King of Rohan. I got to use this card very well. I got him very big, very, very strong, and that double strike is a menace for sure. Not actual menace, but he becomes a menace. He's got double strike. He enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counters equal to the amount of other humans you control. And then when he enters the battlefield, you become the monarch and deal damage equal to his power to any target. Hit someone in the face, potentially blow up a problematic piece of someone else's board. This is a great card for 5 mana. Aomer, I mentioned he helps us give some extra combats. If we just so happen to lose a legendary creature while we're attacking with it, well, congratulations. They just bought themselves an extra combat phase from us. So we can kind of use this as leverage almost, I feel like. We can be like, oh, are you sure you want to block my Eowyn attack? Because if you block it and you kill her, I just get to swing again. I get to have another battle phase. Are you sure you want that? So we can use that as sort of a bargaining tool, but also as a value tool. And then lastly, Eowyn Fearless Knight. I almost got to use this to get rid of a gigantic creature. Chances are you will encounter a problematic creature that has higher than 3 power. She says, haste, and when this card enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with greater power. Legendary creatures you control gain protection from each of that creature's colors until end of turn. It's very likely that a commander will have greater power than that. I know there are some that are more low to the ground, but that's the entire color spectrum. So you could swing out with all your legendary creatures to that player and not have to worry about any sort of interaction, blocks, in responses. That's a great... all the Eowyn cards I've seen in this set are great. I think there's just the one more that's the mono white that cares about equipment. I think that one's a good one too, but we just didn't put her in here. So that's the full deck. We're gonna do some play testing because it's always good to see how things play out before you fully commit. And you get to see where the weak links are. What are the areas of opportunity and what actually works really well, like how I did with the Horn of Gondor. Okay, so we see we got a couple lands here. We don't have any red mana, but we also don't have any red cards. We do have red present with Aragorn. You know what? Let's be bold. I'm usually a little I usually am a bit reserved when it comes to making sure I get my mana, but you know what? I'm realizing that this may not go well. We're going to stick with it. So we're going to draw for turn. Oh, look at that. We got our Dauntless Bodyguard. Okay, so since both of these are going to come in tapped, let's just go ahead and bring in that. We will scry off the top. Yeah, let's put that on... Well, we would put this on the bottom, but I think we're just going to shuffle, and hopefully it goes on the bottom. All right, and then our turn comes back. This comes in tap. Well, we would draw first. Ooh, Shared Animosity. Now I'm regretting not having that that red mana now. Okay. Draw again. Oh my gosh. Shuffle. Yeah, we are not doing so hot. We can bring out Westfold Rider. Have this up as a means to potentially blow up artifact or enchantment. Okay, here we go. Here's some red mana. Now we can do Aaron Rider of Gondor. We will have to discard a card. We will not discard, put it on the bottom, but I think that's okay. I say let's put Dauntless Bodyguard on the bottom. Okay, man, we are really not hitting our lands or any sort of mana ramp. We can go ahead and start prepping for our commander. Here we go. Command Tower. Good old Command Tower. At this point, yeah, we can bring out Aragorn, do some monarchy. Yeah, so this is going a little slow, but ultimately I don't think we're off to a terrible start. Yeah, we can start again. Let's see what other damage we can do. Okay, 4 land start. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll definitely keep this. Okay, draw. It's mostly white mana, but you know, we can still work with it. Let's go ahead and bring up Minas Tirith. Comes in tapped. More planes. We can do Port Town, reveal planes from our hand. Brand. Alright, let's do the planes. Let's bring up Boromir. Valiant Knight, that's fun. Great Hall of the Citadel. We can filter our mana through Great Hall of the Citadel to get Erkenbrand. Is this legend? Okay, so we also could have gotten the One Ring, but I think we'll hang on to that for right now. Here we go. Here's a mountain. Now we got all 3 colors. Yeah, at this point, I'd say it's safe to bring out Eowyn. We've got the mana to do it. We would not see her effect go off at that time, but on our next turn, we have the mana and the... Ooh, and Theoden. Yes. Boom, let's do that. We would get the 2/2, the 2/2/2 knights. And we would get to draw a card because we hit the 6 creatures. So that's perfect. Now we're going to start hitting that card draw, assuming, you know, at this point, assuming nothing got destroyed or sacrificed in any way. Okay, yeah, so this went off a little smoother. This type of deck, because the mana curve is a little on the high side, we might see a little bit slower start, but then once you get to turn 5, 6, 7, this is where you're really going to see things start to take off. We're going to start outvaluing our opponents with just the cards that we're slowly but surely putting out on the field. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys got to see some cool stuff. I know I'm very excited to keep playing this deck. I had a lot of fun the other day, and I got to do a lot of really fun things. But yeah, we'll catch you next time on the next brew video. We'll see you later.